to finish the end of June. They've got a lot of scaffolding up here at particularly the scaffolding that they need over the handicapped access ramp. Um, we were able to reopen the ramp today. We had to close it Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, but we were able to reopen it today. They do have one more level they need to put on that scaffolding, but it shouldn't interfere with the handicapped access ramp. They're finished with the project of the scaling on the foundation stones, and also they're ready to point those up as well. They're also starting to work on repointing the north wall. And they've been working on the east wall as well in terms of repointing. Within a couple of weeks, they'll start work on the capstones, which is quite a large scale project. So it's very busy.
Sounds like they're moving along on time.
They're completely on schedule. They gave me another schedule, and everything is right on schedule right now.
Any unexpected conditions encountered that may have cost implications?
Very, very little. There was a couple of the bluestones out of place in the stairwell going down to the basement. And they're gonna give me a price on replacing those. There's also some fairly severe damage to some of the bluestones near the ground level. So there might be a case of replacing a couple of those as well, but we'll see how that goes.
So maybe reset or maybe replace.
Yeah, the bluestones, the foundation stones are basically quite soft. And so there is a little more repair to those than we had originally thought, but I don't think it's going to add considerably to the project at all. And I think it was, really a good thing to get that scaling taken care of on those stones as well.
Thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
Didn't we actually get a little bit of extra money through the construction grant that might cover the cost of the extra expense?
Well, we got a little extra money for the next construction grant.
Oh, for the next one, okay.
That's the one that involves the upstairs reading room and the kitchen floor.
The kitchen floor slab. Yeah.
Yeah, and that brings us up to full funding on that, 75% of the total project, thanks to a little redistribution of the wealth.
Now, is there any issue with the ramp, the wheelchair ramp?
Not at this time, no, it's back open.
Is it? Oh, well.
Yeah.
It's all back open. And we don't expect it to close again.
That's great.
Yeah. Now they did a good job and got it done, and we're back in business with the ramp.
I was noticing we haven't had an update, Evelyn, in the grants awarded in the way of construction grants. Do you remember the spreadsheet that you had gotten for us?
You're muted, Evelyn.
You're muted.
Sorry.
Sometimes it's a good thing when I'm muted. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Let's see. You'd gotten a construction grant history from UHLS
Yes.
for us in the past,
Yes.
but it's out of date. So I was wondering whether there was a more current version available.
Well, last I heard, they were working on it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I know there was a brief one at the last Upper Hudson meeting that showed there were actually two additional influxes of funds. One that came April 1st, I believe, and the other one was literally the day of our meeting, April 14th. We got that extra money from other systems turning back their money on April 1st. The amount, but since that took us to full funding, so the 414 monies did not go to us. It went to other libraries. Not the two other libraries, neither of them are at full funding either. We're one of the few now that I think most of the libraries except those two are at full funding, is what I'm trying to say. They may be trying to incorporate all those steps before they put it online or before they come up with the final piece.
Okay, because I see it hasn't been updated since 2020. So
yep. Do you need it for any or anything in
no,
particular? I can get that.
It's just it's an accurate source to consult when there's a question.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, please keep us posted on anything you find out. That'd be very helpful. Thank you. Then jumping to the historic structures report. Before we go into a status update, I think I just wanted to, while Michelle is here, I wanted to bring up the schedule that we've received. So I'm going to share my screen here right now. I think I sent this schedule out to everybody, and screen sharing is disabled. So I will not bring up my schedule, my screen, but I think we had there's a pretty detailed 11 by 17 spreadsheet that describes the historic structures report, various tasks that have to happen as part of that report in terms of what Misa and Wilson Baker sees for their own internal processes in order to get the deliverables that they've promised us. Oh,
Joyce got it.
boy, thank you. Thank you so much. So the magenta line there, that's middle of April when I had marked that up. We are now a week after that, but orders of magnitude that sort of shows you where we're at. And Joy, I think you're doing this in the car here, so I'm hugely impressed. There are a few things that I'll say are deliverables. They're sort of highlighted with that orangey sort of color. So existing, perfect, thank you. The assessment of the HVAC system, which we're hoping we will hear back from them by the end of May with some thoughts and recommendations on that, hopefully in time for that next grant application for those shovel-ready projects. After that, if you look further down, there is the library report with conclusions from meetings or recommendations, which talks about library space planning and programming. So that's a pretty big deliverable there, and there will be a few iterations of that. So there'll be first submission on it, and then some discussion and review, and then revisions in anticipation for inclusion in the final report. Before those things can be submitted and completed, we have to have the meetings. And you can see those are sort of highlighted with the greenish color. And right now they've sort of blocked out 5 different workshops. 3 of those workshops would happen on one day or 1 week, I guess, a series of days perhaps. Person would travel to our area and would get together with groups of people from the library, and then would go away, do some thinking, come back for follow-up meetings, or maybe those would be online. And then the concepts will be developed from there. So I don't know, Paul, has there been any conversation with Misa and Wilson Baker in terms of timing on those? Have been elaborating more of that? Have they had any thoughts or conversations about what groups may want to meet with the design and library consultants.
No, we haven't discussed that at all yet. I guess they just pretty much put this together.
Yeah, so that,
So
now there
no,
is
I
a,
haven't got any dates or we haven't discussed. I had a bunch of questions too, and who was to be included and all that sort of thing.
sure.
So
So-
I guess I'll be talking to them next week.
They did include a letter that, I apologize, let's see if I can pull that up here. They did put together, not a letter, but a sort of a diagram about some meetings that they had had with, it looks like they might have used this here for some other library groups. I think I shared this out as well, a sample day or days with the consultant. So there might be, in this schedule that they shared out included meetings with the project team, adult group team, the library director and assistant director, tech services, circulation, board members, business partners. Now, I think we need to sort of come forward with some recommendations on, library and finance, and then friends of the library, and then volunteer groups, adult services, children's and teen librarian, and then the project team again. So I think they're looking to us to come forward with some suggestions on who that might be. And some of these groups, maybe this may be a good place to have that discussion on who we'd like to see participate in this. For instance, the business groups. Do we have any strategic business partners that make sense to bring into this conversation? Do we have any other civic partners that we'd like to see included in this discussion?
Well, I don't, I'm not sure exactly what they mean, but what comes to mind is, as far as I'm concerned, is at least someone from the city, for example, Monica, maybe somebody from the bid. I don't know. I mean, that's what comes to mind right away.
No, that's a good thought.
On there, they had different meetings spelled out, and they said some with select staff, some with leadership. Do we know how they were defining those different groups?
I think that's, I'll say somewhat up to us in terms of how they want to be, how we may want to define them. And do people have that other memo that was included? Did I not send that both? I thought I sent both of them out.
I don't remember seeing it, Kirsten, sorry.
Let me check my email there if I did not send out both things here. Sent items. No, that's the schedule. You're right. So, and let me, well, print. That's why I apologize for apparently not sending this out. I will send it out momentarily. Okay, sent. They look like they're talking about 1 or 2 days of meetings. And they don't necessarily have to be full days of meetings for each of us, but I think if we can, we may be able to structure this so we can get groups of people to gather together. Certainly, someone from the city like Monica, someone from the bid, or some people from the bid perhaps, other civic groups. The Friends of the Library, maybe the Library Foundation. There we are. Thank you. Now, looking at their schedule, they're proposing that these meetings might happen the week of May 10th, which is 1, 2, 3 weeks from now. 1, 2, I'm sorry, would finish 3 weeks from now. So it is 1, 2, yeah, would finish 3 weeks from now. So Monday in 2 weeks. So I think we do want to, this is a very timely piece here that we need to sort of think about who would like to get involved with these here, extend invitations to these various persons and groups. I'm happy to draft a list of proposed groups and outside organizations, if that's something that people would like to review. And I can do that this weekend and send it out for discussion or for thumbs up, thumbs down. And Paul, could you put together a list of staff and staff teams that you think would be valuable to get together for discussion with these folks?
Sure.
It would be helpful to know what size group they are considering ideal.
Yeah, I think group size and an exact schedule and that sort of thing would be all helpful.
It's a chicken and egg thing here. I mean, they can't give us a schedule if we haven't told them what groups. I would guess that they're looking for not more than 6. I mean, if we have I don't think we would have 6 staff in circulation. And
I also think that scheduling within ourselves might be feasible within the time frame, but I think the time frame might be short or outside of library affiliated persons.
sorry, Maria, I didn't follow scheduling within ourselves.
Well, within, like the library staff, the board members and so forth might be feasible to schedule on what I consider short notice, but it might be harder to get together some of the outside.
Agreed.
groups within that schedule.
Agreed. And I don't know whether they're open to meeting only during business hours, if they're open to meeting in early evening hours, as people have different commitments that they can have flexibility with or not.
The sample day indicated breakfast, it indicated dinner. So it would seem that they are able to meet outside of the regular 9 to 5.
So Paul, you may want to have an initial conversation with
Yeah.
them to understand what they're proposing
Yeah,
and
it's pretty fuzzy with me right now, so I will be talking to Gina next week and see where they're going with this.
And in terms of staffing, I think you also need to think about, carving time with staff to focus on this year, but then still maintain services that a challenge there in terms of keeping operations going and gathering information.
Yeah,
for
again,
this.
I don't know how long, they want every meeting to be. I think my primary group, staff-wise, would be my department heads.
So they do, on this sample day here, they do give durations for these meetings.
Yeah,
They're 90 minutes, an hour. Looks like fairly typical.
Have we provided them with any materials?
I'm sorry, have we provided them with any materials?
Right. Any background materials, anything that? I guess not.
Some historical materials I sent to them.
I'm not sure what you mean by materials.
They finished scanning all of our initial drawings, which I have now on a flash drive, little tiny thing. And what else? Yeah, nothing else I can think of.
Our website.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
assuming
the
they've looked at our
but
website.
I also met with the engineer, and I met with Larry Wilson for a conversation in the library, which was fairly extensive. So that gave him some ideas about some of the issues that we see anyway.
When you say, you mean mechanical ventilation?
Primarily,
issues.
primarily was the discussion of mechanicals, but some structural as well.
Right. So I think this exercise here with this meeting day, I think is really to talk about program of the library and services that we're providing to the community, what our hopes are, what our ambitions might be, where we would like to go, what works at the library programmatically, what can we not do at the library that we'd like to do, what do we do that we're struggling with in order to do. I think those are really what this series of meetings would focus on. So let's do a poll here of this group here. Of this group, how many are interested in participating in that, in conversations with the consultant?
I would be surprised if everybody wasn't interested.
So we would maybe assume that the entire board should be invited to
Yes.
participate. I'm certainly open to that as well. There may be time constraints that may prove challenging. I see there is a suggestion, maybe we do a gathering over dinner. I'm not sure if that's convenient from a time perspective. And then there's a question of whether we have a budget for that. I don't know how that gets budgeted, assuming that they're not volunteering to provide dinner as part of their proposal. But I certainly can explore that further, and we can talk about options. So I'll just say, let's put hold the date for the week of the 10th of May. And perhaps we look at a time that's similar to when our group meets here. So 4 o'clock, 4 to 6, something like that. Are there any days of the week that do not work for anybody in this group?
Well,
On the-
our board meeting is on the 11th, and the Upper Hudson board meeting is on the 12th. But for me, I'm usually out by 6 o'clock. It usually ends by 6.
So you prefer to meet after?
Although I realize I have another meeting on the 12th at 7:30 in person, but I can get around that one.
Yeah, on the 13th, I have down Friends of Library meet and greet.
Yep, from 4 to 6.
Yeah,
Is that Freda's?
Yep. And I have,
Oh, and the Troy 100 is on that Monday from 6 to 8.
yes.
That's a busy week in Troy. You know.
so it sounds, so far, if I'm hearing correctly, people are saying Monday's not possible, Tuesday's not possible, Wednesday's not possible, and Thursday's not possible. That's what I think I'm hearing.
Well, Tuesday we work around our board meeting.
If we do it before the board meeting,
Well, but Michelle can't make it then.
Michelle
Right.
can, what, Michelle's availability starts at 4 o'clock, or?
Yeah, generally so.
So
What
if we
about
did-
Brianna?
Brianna, it's no regular time, so I can't say for her.
Tuesday, 4 to 5:30, is that a possibility?
Well, we have the 5 o'clock finance committee meeting.
Okay. Friday the 14th. So Friday the 14th sounds like a possibility.
Following week.
Beg pardon?
What about the following week? The,
They're probably, they've got a consultant.
Yes,
They're probably trying to fit everything into a couple of days of his time. Is that correct?
correct. And if we push back the schedule for the meetings by a week, then it pushes the entire schedule back. The meetings are on the critical path.
Are these Zoom meetings or in-person meetings?
I would believe they're in person. Do we have a policy about in-person meetings, Paul, that would limit the size of the meetings?
No, not particularly. We just don't hold them at all. So,
That sounds like a limitation right there. So that sounds like, we do not have in-person meetings.
Yeah, we haven't, I haven't talked to them about that. And I don't necessarily rule it out, but we don't have any policy because we don't have any meetings.
Right. Well, that's something that we need to. I think in person would be ideal, but obviously this year of COVID has been less than ideal, and yet we still have survived. And so if we don't allow in-person meetings, then we'll have to do remote meetings. We'll still
Well-
need time to do it, but it makes the dinner choices easier.
Paul, are you outright saying that, yes, I'm hearing a dual message here. You're not actually saying we could not do in person.
No, I'm just saying we don't have a policy because
We don't have a policy. Okay, so
we don't have
Kirsten,
any in-person meetings. This would be the first time that that has come up since March of 2020.
so there's some possibilities. Plus, we also have the option, whether or not it's ideal or not, if we want to be in person, of not maybe, certainly not doing it during library hours, and or certainly not doing it at the library itself, especially if we're going to do it over a meal.
Yeah.
Well, how many people on the board would be comfortable meeting in person? Are people not comfortable meeting in person?
I'd be,
I would be comfortable with it.
I would also be comfortable with it. Yeah, assuming we've got have space for appropriate distancing and whatnot, but I'm comfortable with it.
And question is where, if not the library, where would we meet?
Well, that depends whether food is involved, I guess.
Yeah. And then if there is food, would we have privacy?
Well, I guess I would prefer not to have food because I think it takes away from the time.
I think it's distracting.
And I think it makes it more complicated. So I think food is nice, but I think it makes it more complicated and adds another layer of logistics. So in the interest of keeping it simple, I think we can skip the food if that's, we just have to schedule appropriately then, make sure that people can have a meal at some point, but it doesn't need to be during the meeting.
I'm going to check on the Friends, when the Friends meet and greet is, because I have it here for the 13th and the 14th. So,
I think it was a rain date on the 16th.
right, but I have it on my calendar for both the 13th and the 14th, so I may have gotten the particular date.
Okay, I have it in mind on the 13th and or the 16th, depending on rain.
Right, I understand that, but I may have told you the wrong date. Based on my calendar, having it both on the 13th and the 14th.
Okay, I was just saying coincidence, since we both have it the 13th, it seems like it is more likely it's on the 13th than the 14th.
I might agree with you if it were coming from two different sources, but you got that from me, so it's.
Oh, did you send out that message? I thought it was the Friends that had sent it out.
Oh, did they send out a message?
I mean, I wrote it in here. I don't know if it came
I thought
from you.
I announced it at the board meeting.
Was that it?
I'll
I
just,
don't know.
I'll just check on it to make sure,
Okay.
because
Now,
if it is,
now I'm understanding what you're saying. Okay.
if it's not on the 13th, then that might make that date
Elsie, I'm so.
and time available. That might work out well for us.
Got it.
And I have commitments on the afternoon of the 13th. I can say that. In addition to that,
So the 4th at 4 o'clock wouldn't work for you on the 13th? Anyway,
no,
Okay.
on the 13th, 4 o'clock would be out.
okay.
That's my one day.
I want to make sure that I've given you the right date for the meeting, so I'll check on it anyway.
And Monday, the 10th, is that a possibility?
That's the Troy 100 Forum at 6 o'clock.
So if we
So-
met before 6 o'clock, that might work.
Evelyn?
I would like to say depends, because that is virtual, which means I've got to get someplace on the computer in order to attend. So if we may have that meeting early enough, the building meeting early enough to get back, but I have a feeling then it leaves other people out, which wouldn't be fair.
Well, Paul, would it be okay if we get a Google Doodle out for that week, sort of polling the board to see which days and times might be most convenient to meet for an hour and a half?
Yeah, you might want to include the next week as well, though.
And so I would leave you then to ask Misi Wilson Cohen Baker to see if next week's a possibility or what the implications of that are. I certainly am open to that. However, it may push back their critical path set of deliverables in order to get to our deadline that we gave them as part of our contract. So maybe they can make that up. Maybe their consultant has availability. I can't speak to that. So I
We
was just
could-
starting with that week because that was on their schedule. So I'm certainly open to looking at other times as well, if that's possible. I don't know.
We could also meet 2 times of an hour each, rather than once for 2 hours. That might give us a chance to talk with them and then think about things and then come back again and discuss things.
Okay, I'm not sure that's what they're offering. And I'm not sure they have that availability again with that. I think it looks like they are offering to meet with, I think they're trying to do their meetings on 2 days. And looks like one day I'll say is maybe more visionary, and one day maybe more practice oriented or specifics. I'm certainly open to meeting twice if that's something they're able to accommodate. So Paul, if you could reach out to them, hear more from them what they're proposing, and then Google Doodles to poll and see what's available. And at some point, we're going to probably have to find compromise solutions. I would be amazed if we can find time when everyone can make it. Marie, your idea that we may have 2 meetings, that may actually be a way to make possible for everyone to attend at least one meeting. I'm not sure that we'll be able to get everybody in one meeting at the same time.
If what they're thinking is actually a Zoom meeting, there may be more flexibility than if he's trying to be here to meet with people in person.
Agreed. Agreed. These kind of meetings, I'll say Zoom does great stuff. It's not ideal for these kinds of meetings that really would benefit greatly from dialogue back and forth, free flow of information and visuals, and if we can do it in person, that's best. If we do it on remotely, it may be adequate. So that's we'll see what we can do. Any other thoughts or questions about the timeline for the report or the process to get the report pulled together?
What do you think about the timeline, Kirsten?
Looks like they get the endpoint that we want. Looks like it has steps spelled out that seem reasonable. I'm sure there's a lot more going on in the background that we are not aware of. It looks quite reasonable, and it was what I was hoping to see in terms of if they had all the tasks bunched up at the end. Oh yes, we're going to do 35 things all at the end, and that's I would be worried about that. Or if they had skipped a lot of things, I would worry about that too. What they're showing seems reasonable. As you can see, just trying to schedule a meeting or a day of meetings or 2 days of meetings is hard. And we got this last week and doesn't give a lot of room for advanced planning. So that's why if we got a little earlier, that would have been helpful, I think, but we are where we are.
It's a good thing you asked for it when you did.
No, and I've been asking for it. So that was part of why I've been concerned about it. And so I'm very glad that we do have it. As noted, the timelines are short, and if we can push it back another week, that may give us a little more flexibility on our end. Want to make sure they still can deliver on their end.
So I think a really important question is to ask whether they're planning this by Zoom or whether the consultant's actually going to be coming here. So, because we may be putting constraints on it that aren't necessary if he's not planning on being here to conduct the meetings in person.
There was one thing in the timeline that said walk through with Alex Cohn on site. So it sounded like he was planning, at least for part of this, to be here. I had another question too, because Kirsten, you're concerned that if we put it off a week, it would put off their deliverables. As the contractor, do we have some leeway in giving them the room to be, say, a week off, our established contract date?
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
there we go.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That date was set, I think, with some of our own grant deadlines schedules that we had put in place. So we push it back, and it just gives us may give us some challenges on the back end. So yes, we do have flexibility to push back our own deadlines.
Okay. Of course, that one of the deadlines for grants, our material has to already be in before the end of August anyway. So for the construction,
Well, I think the idea was that even though that might be the case, that they may be far enough along so that they could advise us.
And that's why they have that one milestone for the HVAC or the MEP recommendations in at the end of May, because we knew that one we need that earlier. So that was
right. So we would have that. So it's not going to, hopefully a week later to have the total final project isn't going to put off that piece, the cycle of it all.
Yes. Did people have any thoughts about the groups that that they have proposed or that they've listed? Are there any they have a separate meeting, 2 hours for business partners, 1 hour for
that's the other piece.
Friends of the Library, 1 hour for volunteers, 1 hour for add one for the city or for.
Well, Paul, how many volunteers do we have?
Almost none.
So I don't think that would be needed.
No.
Certainly getting, and I think the business partners, I guess they're including the city and business in that, so that we could do that as one meeting. As you said, getting timeline commitments from them, that could be a challenge.
Are there patrons that are in there?
Let me see it. It's too hard to read.
So certainly patrons seems like a important constituency.
But I didn't see them listed, did you?
I don't
Did
either.
not.
There's
Go ahead, Evelyn.
there's another group too that we've talked about, and that's instructors, people who have actually used the building to put on programming.
So would they fall under the business partners?
I don't see it that way, but I'm trying to read this. Library.
We do have a few of those folks. Probably not so much right now. They're right, Paul?
Oh, no.
Instructors?
People who use the library to conduct various groups or
Well, yeah, we have nobody, but at this point,
But we
Um,
have.
there's been no meetings.
I think we need to think about in non-COVID times now.
You're
In non-COVID
overviewing.
times,
I think some of those people are also patrons, but, you know.
I know when you had the session for the library staff regarding services that were potentially available that they could refer our patrons to, there were groups that were meeting in our library at that time that weren't necessarily sponsored by the library. Do you remember them?
Yeah, we've had community meetings that we don't necessarily sponsor. That's not part of our programs.
Right, but I think these were some mental health groups
Mhm.
that were using our,
Yeah, we had one group at Lansingburg that was in that category.
We have community groups that use the
We-
library.
Yeah, I mean, there are community groups that do use the library from time to time.
I know
Have.
Hannah Laurie has used the meeting rooms to tutor people.
Yeah, she did, but then she canceled the meeting.
Did she?
There
She
was
was so
a-
I don't
excited.
know what happened with that, but she was glad to be able to do it, but something happened to the tutoring situation. But we do have tutors as well. We have tutors for high school and middle school students here.
Is that a service that the library provides, or is that something that we work with somebody from outside?
Outside.
No, they pretty much schedule on their own. Yeah, we don't provide a separate service, you know. The tutors are welcome, and they're welcome to use the facilities, and
Yep. Most
So-
of them are from RPI. There's a group from RPI.
And is there a group that coordinates them? So I think that's what Evelyn and Marie are saying. Is there some of these groups that may have some ideas about what they would like to be able to do, or boy, there's nowhere in the community we can do X, and we would love to be able to do that at the library.
well, there's quite frankly, there's a lot of ideas out there. Matter of fact, we conducted the whole community conversation program to find out some of those ideas a couple years ago.
Where did that report go?
What's that?
Is there a report of those finding of that conversation?
Yeah,
I think
There
Paul
is.
had made it available to the board, perhaps not the newest board members, but
Okay, good.
yeah, I have made it available several times. I can make it available some more.
Okay.
I think it's actually.
Could that be shared with the
Dropbox,
consultants?
too, though. I mean, so check on that.
Could that be shared with the consultants?
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's the sort of thing that they would at least give them some historical perspective about conversations that have been had. We don't need to rehash those conversations, but certainly these consultants may be able to benefit from having access to this, and not is it,
Here's
Joy's Joy Fest.
there we go. I think that's in the Dropbox, the long-term Dropbox.
and I'm assuming that has not yet been shared with the consultants yet.
No, I can send them a copy.
This is also on the website.
Yeah, that's right, too. It's on the website as well.
I'm going to have to mute myself for a moment. I apologize.
So, but otherwise reconstructing this would be a little bit difficult to do in the next 3 weeks. So it took us a while to pull this thing together.
Now, Paul, there seem to be a lot of meetings with the staff that are listed in the sample because of the size of the staff here at the library. Would all those times be necessary?
Well, I don't think so 100%. As I say, the most the group I would like to have them meet with is the department heads. They have listed tech services, for example, but there's only one person in tech services, so I don't think that really constitutes a meeting. I think the circulation staff would be good to have a separate meeting because of their contact, on the front lines with the public. In the same way with the reference librarians.
So some of that time could be used for the omissions that are on the list.
I apologize.
Oh, we didn't even notice that you were gone, Kirsten.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Did you hear what was said?
No.
We were
So now I
just-
apologize again.
Paul and I were discussing that all the time that had been blocked out for the staff was probably not needed, and some of that time could then go to the groups that we've identified as not being addressed in their sample day. it sounds like they had a bigger library that they were
Yeah.
dealing with.
It may well have been, yes. That sample day did look like it was set up for a library with quite a large group of, many groups of various functions there. So we're a little more compact organization, and if there's a way to gather information in a more efficient way, that certainly makes sense. So Paul, if you just could, please reach out to them and find out more about how those meetings might be structured, who might be involved, are they going to be remote or in person?
Yeah,
Depending on the days that are chosen, I would be happy to meet in person for tours or for walking or for conversations, whatever they would like to do. And if, with enough notice, I can carve out a day or half a day or a few hours. The one day that is difficult for me to change off of would be when Thursdays would be challenging for me to break free, and Monday mornings, Tuesday mornings would be difficult to break free. But besides that, I can lock time out. That's all I have, I think. Let me just take a quick look at the agenda.
If we're moving on, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Now I've forgotten them. So have the contracts been sent to SHPO and to the Preservation League? The contract with, have we received the contract? We did receive the contract, right? For the HSR?
yeah.
And has it been sent to the Preservation League and to SHPO?
I don't know what the question, this is, well, the one with SHPO is all online.
I think Marie's
The
asking about
HSR
the contract with Misico and Wilson Baker. Is that what you're asking, Marie?
Yes.
Oh, that contract. No, it hasn't been requested.
It has been for the Preservation League. I don't remember, or I can't say specifically for the CFA, but yes, it has been requested for the Preservation League.
Yeah,
If we want to get money from them,
I can send that to them.
that would be good. Thank you.
And it has been signed by all parties at this point?
What's that?
The contract has been signed by all parties?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
Okay, that would be great, Paul, because supposedly that's what they're waiting on to forward our
okay,
award.
yeah, I didn't realize that, but I'll get that over to them.
And the second question I have is that I saw that NYLA was recommending that proposals for member funds be in by May 12th. So do we have a plan to get something to our legislators by then?
Yeah, I was working on a couple things, but one of them was, and I haven't got all my pricing yet, but sometimes they don't mind rounding off. Redoing some additional work on the upstairs reading room. And that I'm still kind of looking into. We have the grant to repair the 4 areas in the upper ceiling area. But I think I'd like to explore the possibility of some doing additional work, including some new furniture and even redoing the floor.
Redoing the floors, how?
Yeah, that's the question.
Well, I'm just, how does that fit in with the HSR? That
What's that?
I'm just uncertain how that would fit in with the HSR and what work might be proposed under that.
Well, that I couldn't tell you. But the flooring in the reading room is an ancient tile floor, which was put over a hardwood oak floor. And what I'd like to do is go back to the oak floor that was there originally. And
And
remove the tiles, which are of course asbestos. And all has to be abated. So you're looking at a fairly expensive project. But anyway, that's what's been going through my mind.
Well,
And-
certainly the Lansing brick floors look beautiful.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that, the more I look at it, the more it was put over an oak hardwood floor.
mhm.
I mean, that's what it looks like everywhere. Of course, these are glued down. It's quite a project to get them up. Not only once you get them up, you've got to abate all that. You've got to, deal with that, with the asbestos issue. And then, of course, refinish that oak floor when it's, when you're done. But, the tiles are horrible. I'm trying to say, once we repair the reading room, once we repair the damage, it'd be nice when we reopen the library to make it a lot more livable, a lot more open, a lot more, attractive to people. So including additional new furniture, which we never have purchased in the past, and then some, comfortable furniture as well, and create a reading nook and so on. I think that would be a great project.
So, it sounds like it's heading in an interesting direction, in my opinion. And the idea of, taking the asbestos tile up and refinishing the floor, certainly that is a big project that, if that's, if the floor underneath is in good condition, that could be a great benefit. And even if the floor is in poor condition, it still could be a great benefit. It'd be a little more complicated to do. May want to just touch base with Misico and Wilson Baker and see what their thoughts are on, make sure that we're not, this is ancient, historic, beautiful V8 asbestos tile that was part of the original building, but I would highly doubt that. I think you're heading.
Oh, no, that's not part of the original building. The original building is hardwood oak floors.
Yeah, so
Those tiles were put in, God knows when.
probably the 1950s.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah. And I apologize, I missed the date that this proposal is due is when?
May 12th?
What's that?
What I saw recommended was May 12th.
Oh, May 12th. Thank you. I had
Yes.
written down November 12th. I said, I didn't think that was
No.
quite there. So May.
And so if we need to approve it by the board, that would be I think the meeting's May 9th, is that correct?
11th.
May 11th?
Yeah. Amongst this group here, are there any reservations if to taking up asbestos tile and refinishing the original floors?
My only concern is then what happens with whatever comes out of the HSR for various construction? Will that impact the floors, and so that have been the wrong thing to do?
That's why I was suggesting we might reach out to Wilson Cohen Baker and see what they had any thoughts or reservations about it. I would guess it doesn't, but I think it'd be worth at least saying, hey, we're thinking about doing this. What do you think? Just as an informal conversation. If it's a modern floor over an old floor. And if we were to remove that asbestos tiles and refinish the floor and then do other work in that room, they may have some thoughts about needing to put down temporary protection to protect that new floor. Depending on the products that are used, they may have thoughts about how those products might outgas and might affect other historic finishes in that room. So it's worth.
Well, besides, I mean, any abatement of asbestos that's done in the building is good. I mean, you know, it's good for whatever you want to do with the building in the future.
Well, I'm thinking of one of the things that came up during our interviews is someone talked about lifting up the floor to put mechanicals in or something. And so what if they suggest something like that? That
You would want to remove the asbestos anyway to do that.
Yeah, you'd have to get rid of the asbestos to do
Yeah.
that.
Right, I understand that, but let's say you get rid of the asbestos and then refinish the wood floor, and then it all goes to naught because they have to take up the wood floor and put it back down again, and it has to all be redone.
Well, the expensive part is the asbestos abatement. The refinishing part is less expensive.
Right.
So I think the removing the asbestos tiles would be happening anyway. And you may end up throwing away a newly refinished floor. There's potential that could happen, yes. The
And I
other,
also thought there were limited numbers of times that you could sand the wood floors.
yeah, that is also true. And there are also different finishes you can use on a wood floor, some of which could potentially damage other finishes in the room. And that's why I think, for your reason you mentioned, Marie, or for compatibility issues, I think at least is worth a conversation with Musico and Wilson Baker to say, hey, we're thinking about this. What do you think? And do you have any recommendations? Should we use a certain finish system, or should we not refinish the floor, or what?
Okay, so anyway, that's my only reservation regarding that. I'd certainly like to see wood floors.
So Paul, if you just could reach out to the architects and see if they have any thoughts on it, and let us know what their thoughts are about this potential idea of approaching a potential grant from NILA. Okay. Any other thoughts or questions about the main branch of the library? Are there any updates on the Gilded Age? That anything that's relevant that we should be aware of? No? Okay. Well, it sounds like no updates on the Gilded Age, and we'll wait till it's released in theaters and we'll see what shows up. Anything else anyone would like to add to the agenda at this time? Okay. Next meeting on the 28th of May. Okay. That sounds like no objections heard. Okay, well, then on that note, I will say thank you very much, everybody, for your participation and your input, your thoughts and questions, and look forward to hearing more about the potential meetings for the Historic Structures Report. We're meeting as a board on the 11th, and maybe that same week, maybe the following week, we'll have meetings to talk about big picture thoughts and plans and ideas for the library the downtown branch of the library and what happens there. So until we see each other again at one of those two meetings, I wish you all good days, good weeks, and a good weekend.
Same to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.